Cheers.
I only have sparkling.
Oh, I suppose I'll have to take sparkling.
What if you were to join a certain club? You're gonna join the Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club. Come on, it's not like you have to kiss some big old greasy, fat, hairy Oklahoma ass.
That would be yours, JR.
Come on, I've got a nice ass. He needs to kiss my ass. I gotta tell you, that's a mighty fine looking ass, isn't it? It can do tricks. Watch this.
Welcome to the second episode of the Kiss My Ass Club podcast. This is your host, Paul Bush here. I'm joined this week by David O'Neill.
Hello.
And Richie Owens.
Hello, friends.
How's it going? So, just to start things off this week, surprisingly, we did get a fan question, which is amazing after one episode. And that fan question was, what got you guys initially into wrestling? So we'll start it with, I suppose, Dave, because I know you were into wrestling, out of wrestling, interesting, out of wrestling. So, right, tell us your story.
Well, obviously, in the 80s was the Hulk Hogan, the PG era. I kind of fell out of it, I suppose, when things got complicated, when Psycho Sid and that kind of came in. And then I went out of it for a while. I kind of missed all the great stuff with Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, and got back into it, I suppose, when the Mike Tyson thing happened with Stone Cold, that feud. I think I fell out of it then around 2004, which is kind of when The Rock was leaving and the Attitude Era run its course. But then only last year, you obviously sent me on after I'd gotten the network, which I was watching a lot of the older kind of material on. You sent me NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, which was just fantastic. It introduced me to a lot of new great characters, characters that I could get involved with. But the biggest pull for me right now is the athleticism and the talent of the current roster. I think it's probably as good as it's ever been, because it's another PG era. It's completely different to the Attitude Era as well. The talent are absolutely mastering what they do with the characters. You look at how the likes of New Day own the characters. You know, the first thing I saw on TakeOver was that amazing Tyler Breeze intro, which, you know, obviously on the main roster we're probably not getting what it was in that.
It's actually perfect that your very first NXT show was TakeOver Brooklyn, which was probably the best TakeOver show.
Absolutely.
And like that intro I got instantly. I was like, it's Zoolander, only it's even cooler in a way. Like, it's even better, like, you know. And then he has this amazing match with Juice and Thunder Liger, you know, and I had a great match, and they're pulling out moves that I hadn't even seen before, you know, at all. Like, that was a great first match. But then later on that card then was Bayley versus Sasha, which was
best match.
Which was the real mind blowing thing for me.
That's amazing to kind of get into it so much, and all you have is the build up and the package before it. You don't even have
that's it.
The shows, but it was enough to get you in.
Bayley and Sasha, that package alone, the story was so straightforward, anybody could watch it.
Because you believe that Sasha can't be beat.
Yes.
She comes across as unbeatable, and Bayley is a true underdog. And even as the match is unfolding, you never actually think, in a wrestling world where usually the underdog comes and wins, you still don't think Bayley's ever going to do it, because Sasha is so believable.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so special.
So it sounds like you had like a kind of like a pay-per-view career-defining match that got you back into
Absolutely.
it.
Bayley's entrance as well. But then Sasha...
the coming out in the Cadillacs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, security guards.
I mean, and this is, you know, in an arena that...
with 14,000
crowd
at it. Big for NXT.
But I had this really kind of intimate, cool, edgy kind of feel to it, you know, and that's what it was. Like, you know, I think Finn Balor then was the main event. Kevin Owens, wasn't it?
Yes, ladder match.
Okay, but Richie, was there a break in your your path, or have you been consistent?
I've been lifelong, good times and bad, and there has been some pretty bad times. It actually all started with, wrestling's always kind of been in my family. My parents and everyone has always watched it around me. My dad always brags that him and my mother watched WrestleMania 3 while I was upstairs in my cot, and he always kind of holds that against me that I never got that moment where he got to see it live on Sky.
Famous slam.
Yeah, see, I did that. You know, it's probably one of the most famous matches of all time. It started really for me when I was 9, so this is 1996, and I was watching Saturday morning WWE, and Bret Hart was the champion. He was the man. We all know Bret Hart. He probably one of the best technical wrestlers in wrestling, and he was the man. And then we have this guy come up pretty much out of nowhere. As far as like his babyface run, we got Shawn Michaels. So he wins the 1996 Royal Rumble, and we got to set up Michaels versus Hart, WrestleMania 12. That was the first pay-per-view I actually ever remember watching. And going into it, my only thought was that Bret Hart's the best. He can't beat Bret Hart. There's no way. And it's a 60-minute Iron Man match, which means that even if Shawn tried to get like a lucky roll-up or like a pin or something like that, it doesn't matter because it's 60 minutes. Hart will just defeat him a few more times. There's no possible way that Shawn is winning this match. But as they built it, it was booked so well that Shawn started to get over as a face. And then suddenly it was like, this guy that's quite different and he's a bit flashy and flamboyant. For some reason I just liked him. There was something about him. And then they go out and they kill it for 60 minutes. Obviously there was no falls. Went to overtime and Shawn Michaels wins, his very first WWF title. And they always said it was like the dream since he was like a 12-year-old boy. And I'm watching this as a 9-year-old kid thinking, wow, that's like me. I could have that dream. And since then, I was hooked. Like I'm probably still, it's not the best match ever, but it's still my favourite match for that moment and that experience of the scene.
Something great they could do really, really well was the wish fulfillment within a match. You said your first time watching it was a championship match and the underdog in that match.
Absolutely, and like we didn't like have the luxury of like ordering every pay-per-view, so I was only watching the Saturday morning stuff where you'd get like superstars or metal or whatever the show was. So you get clips of matches on Raw and stuff, but I'd never watched a pay-per-view match. And I think it was actually one of our neighbours rented it and like invited all the guys over from the street, and we all sat and watched Hart and Shawn Michaels and WrestleMania 12, and that was it. And it was a great card as well. Like there was a lot of good matches in that, including the famous Roddy Piper and Goldust.
Oh right, yeah.
Was it a backroom brawl or whatever it was?
It's interesting because like you're how many 2-3 years younger than me.
Yeah.
So you start getting into it just as it was fizzling out for me because like I couldn't accept as a child like Hulk Hogan losing a belt. Like it didn't make sense. I couldn't accept the Hart Foundation breaking up.
The line between good and evil was blurring. As a kid, you couldn't cope with it. It was perfect for Richie because he says it was a journey.
And also
there.
Sky Sports had started taking the pay-per-views, so that was a big thing for me. Was that we watched Saturday morning, but we never really enjoyed it.
No.
And we had the pay-per-views, and as soon as they were taken away from me, I was getting hearsay. Somebody was telling me what happened, and it just wasn't as exciting.
You went to school on a Monday morning.
Yeah,
and you get
somebody told me what
results.
happened. Whereas like myself and my brother used to watch, even sometimes my father would watch the pay-per-views with us, like when we could watch them.
I got into it way later than you guys because like I remember I watched when I was really young, and that thing you'd watch it the weekend, Saturday morning, but it was just job matches. So even as a kid you knew these were waste of time matches and you knew who was going to win. You couldn't get into it, so I kind of got bored of that as a kid. And then I remember being in like senior school, 60 or something like that, and one of the guys in my class had a DX jersey on, and I remember going, what the hell, like, you're 17, how are you into wrestling? That's for kids. And then I went to college and I was chatting to a fella one day, really nice guy, David was his name, and I just was chatting in the corridor talking to him, and he was telling me about WrestleMania 17, and he was telling me about TLC 2, and I was like, oh, sounds interesting. And he brought me in a copy of the pay-per-view on tape. I went home and I watched it just for that match, and it blew my mind, because where I had left wrestling, because I didn't get in on the early Attitude Era, all that stuff, I'd left wrestling. It was like Undertaker comes out, beats up 3 job guys, and that's it. Okay. And now I was watching this, and like what struck me was the athleticism. It was a stunt show for like 20 minutes, that match, and it was insane. I never seen anything like it. And
Did
then
you watch the entire pay-per-view?
Yeah, then I went back and watched the whole pay-per-view. And again, you had that amazing video package with The Rock versus Stone Cold. I think it was set to My Way, Limp Bizkit, so it was just all the stories were kind of cool. It was a bit edgy. Production values, I'd never seen it like it.
Well, that promo you said to My Way, I still think that's the best.
It is amazing
build up for any pay-per-view match I've ever seen. And then right before that, Paul Heyman goes, well, you don't agree?
The best build up of all time is actually the I Quit match, The Rock, Mankind, Mick Foley. That's the best video package.
I hate that match though.
You hate that match?
I hate that match.
Can we put on the Facebook page a vote of which promo video is actually better?
Yeah, we'll try that. Yeah,
Rock and Mankind, I Quit, and Rock and Austin, WrestleMania.
Okay.
But it's
people can vote on which is the best.
Okay.
Because I completely disagree.
I disagree, but you're both wrong, and anybody else disagrees is wrong.
But the last thing that kind of coupled with that was the Beyond the Map documentary.
Yes.
And what that did and watching kind of like WrestleMania 17 around St. Thomas, it just made it, as a newbie coming back in, gave you such respect for the business. It made it so serious and real, and these were people, and it had an effect on their lives. And you saw Mick Foley in that I Quit match, and you saw his family and the upset, and you just had to respect these guys. So once you kind of got in like that, this whole thing of, it's predetermined didn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
You just had utter respect for these people. Richie, you've got some notes there on Raw. What are your thoughts?
I really liked Raw this week. It was a huge difference from the week before, which was the July 4th special. A couple of negatives. I think the final segment with Vince announcing that Stephanie would be running Raw and Shane would be running SmackDown, it was a bit drawn out.
We kind of knew that would happen.
We knew it was going to happen, and nothing really came from it. It was the end of the show. We've already been watching for 3 hours, and it was just Vince coming out to announce it, and that was it. I felt like that was a bit of a letdown after such a good show. Titus O'Neil, squash match against Heath Slater. I don't get really what they're doing with Titus. Like, he's lost to Rusev twice now. Why is he coming out and winning? Like, what are they going to do next with Titus? I just don't really understand it. I kind of feel like Vince is still kind of a bit apologetic for suspending him for 30 days and then missing WrestleMania and that payoff. But I think, if Titus is losing clean to Rusev twice, why is he winning in a squash match? Positives, Cesaro and Owens. I think it was the best Raw match I've seen in months. If anyone hasn't seen it, I highly recommend it. I had some really funny moments. There's one moment where Cesaro puts on JBL's hat, runs around the ring a few bits, jumps off the top ropes and stuff. That was quite cool. There was a lot of unique moves that Owens and Cesaro haven't actually done in a while. So I kind of felt like maybe this is something to do with the draft. Maybe they know they're getting split up. So they're doing a lot of their good stuff on each other and putting on the best match they can because they're not going to fight for a couple of months. And it also had a unique finish. Like, it wasn't a pop-up powerbomb, wasn't anything like that. Owens did this weird, like, torture rack into neckbreaker finisher. And it was really surprising, got the 1, 2, 3. And I think that's a really unique thing to do in a match, to not just always finish it on a finisher or on a roll-up. Suddenly you can just pull a move out of nowhere, like when Roman Reigns does his Razor's Edge into powerbomb. If you actually finish a match with that, it's a bit surprising because you're not expecting the 1, 2, 3. If he does a pop-up powerbomb, Cesaro's not going to kick out. And I think it's also clever because Cesaro's losing that match because he has no story. Owens is in a feud with Zayn, but still they're able to keep me entertained enough to watch for 20 minutes. So that was match of the night.
An exclusive presentation of The Rollins Report.
Rollins Report, which was
brilliant.
It was absolutely hilarious.
So to quote JBL at Mania 31, brilliant! Brilliant!
Brilliant! Brilliant!
It was hilarious. Like, I know it was kind of they stole it from the Edge and Christian show with the clips of Roman Reigns answering distant questions and stuff like that. But it was really clever. I think Seth's reactions to Roman's answers were absolutely hilarious.
Do you really think that you should still be in the triple threat match at Battleground?
No.
Well, I agree. But do you intend to keep being a horrible person and a terrible role model?
As long as I have breath in my lungs and I wake up in the morning, I can do it.
You really are a monster, aren't you?
And then obviously you got Dean coming out and they have a bit of a back and forth. But it was quite cool because they got serious. Where Dean's always telling jokes, he's always being a bit crazy and stuff. But for that couple of minutes, they were dead on and it was a lot of suspense. And I felt it. I felt the passion. I felt both these guys want to be heavyweight champion more than anything else. And it's a credit to them really because Roman's not there. They're building to this triple threat match. They have very little to work with. One of the guys is missing from the match, but yet
they're keeping him in the mix.
Exactly.
With the Rollins Report.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, Rollins is coming out and trashing him every week.
They're doing a very good job of that. They're doing a great job of that. Like, Seth Rollins doesn't shut up about him, even though he's not even the champion anymore.
But that's good heel work,
Yeah,
because he's obsessed, to his own detriment. He's like the classic. He's distracted by the guy who's not even there. But that's brilliant for his character.
The only other thing I really want to talk about is make Darren Young great again.
We're trying to make Darren Young great again!
They have a number 1 contenders match for the Intercontinental title, and surprise, surprise, Darren Young wins. The finish was perfect because it was 4 guys left. It was Dolph Ziggler, Apollo Crews, Baron Corbin, and the man himself, Darren Young. Dolph goes out, and then Apollo and Baron actually eliminate each other. So Darren Young actually does nothing to win the match. He turns around, surprise on his face, Bob Backlund gets in, picks him up. It's absolutely hilarious. The reason why I like this is because Darren Young was doing nothing. He was in nothing. He did Primetime Players. He did okay. He went away from that. Titus got his push. He's done nothing since then. We watched him in our WWE live show. He came out to no pop. None of us cared. The crowd didn't care about Darren Young. He goes away. Suddenly these vignettes start popping up with Bob Backlund. Make Darren Young great again. They're having this two-way conversation where it looks like they're looking at each other, but they're looking at the camera, and it's kind of weird.
Young man, let me give you some advice. Yes, sir. Never, never take advice from anyone.
But you're my life coach. I don't understand. Why would I not?
Then listen to me.
So you're saying I shouldn't take advice from anyone?
Absolutely right.
Does that include you too, coach?
What do you think?
No?
Wrong.
And every week they're showing this, and they're talking and talking and talking, and they're building it up. And like, obviously Bob Backlund is Bob Backlund. Everyone loves him. He's a legend. Now they put him on TV 4 or 5 weeks later, and the crowd are interested in him. He starts getting in some offense, and the crowd are cheering. They're cheering for Darren Young, the guy that at the live event can't even get cheered. Where the Lucha Dragons are getting cheered at the live event, you know? And I think it's a perfect way to book a wrestler before he debuts on the brand. And the way they got it wrong is with the Vaudevillains. They had no packages, no introduction. Nobody came out and said who they were. They just debuted on TV. And they bombed. They haven't worked. They're now the Ascension. The same thing happened with the Ascension. And, you know, we spoke about it before because Vince Russo talks about it all the time. The perfect example is Val Venus. Val Venus was built up over, 4 or 5 week period. They showed videos and, you know, making reference to him being a porn star and stuff like that, and all these really cool stuff. They
Jenna Jameson.
Jenna Jameson was perfect. Like, but then with Val Venus, their
fan base back then, they were all watching Jenna Jameson videos, you know. So she was putting Val over pretty well.
Absolutely, and then you get Val on Raw, and he comes out to a massive pop.
Yeah,
the crowd love him because they've been watching videos of him, and they want to know who this guy is. And it's the same with Darren Young, someone who was like,
he could have been a terrible wrestler. He was a great wrestler, but he could have been terrible, and he would have got a massive cheer that first week, regardless.
Yeah, exactly.
It would have been his crowd to lose, basically.
Exactly, yeah,
you know.
Yeah. And like, I think that's why Darren Young is so important, because like, he could have been in that batch of wrestlers that were let go a couple of months ago. There's no reason why he shouldn't be on that list, but he's been repackaged.
And it was his idea, apparently.
The Bob Backlund thing?
Apparently.
Oh, really? I didn't realise that.
Yeah.
That's even better.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the great thing. I think if a guy in there comes up with an idea and they can put it together, or they have enough, you know, ammo on it, and they run with it and it takes off, I mean, I think that's them said. That's the New Day. Yeah. That's how the New Day got together, you know. And that famous thing, well, not too famous, but the Big Show advising Kofi not to join the New Day because it would be the death of his career.
Wow.
And look how that turned out.
It's the best work that Kofi's ever done.
He's ever done, exactly, yeah.
It's a new day. Yes, it is.
Everyone's talking about the compound, so let's talk about that compound. And, you know, there's an obvious comparison with Final Deletion, but look, we'll start with the compound. Dave, you've seen it most recently out of all of us. What do you think?
I think it's jarring. I think the wrestlers do great work in what they're doing. I would like it to be more like what they used to do in the old episodes of Raw, that kind of handheld, not choppy, cutting, shot like a film. I think it's too big a jump from the stylistic nature that the rest of the show is shot. I like the fact that they're actually trying to do something different with the New Day. I quite enjoy that.
It doesn't make sense. It's like it breaks kayfabe. It's not wrestling. It goes from wrestling to a really bad B movie.
Yeah,
I just didn't understand it. I didn't like any of it.
No.
Nothing of it whatsoever.
Wow. Okay.
I just think they went again's their whole Xavier Woods is supposed to be afraid of the New Day. Is he going to get kidnapped by the New Day? Is he going to join
New Day?
No, the Wyatts.
He's got Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah.
He was asking for his teammates to treat it more seriously, and they dressed seriously. He was asking to do something, which they did. That's what he was asking to do.
That compound match would have been a lot better if they were wearing unicorn horns and running around like
it would have been more entertaining, but what they're going for is they're trying to do something different with the New Day, which I do appreciate. And his fear led them to make that change this week, which is all solid stuff, but it's just too big a stretch in how it's packaged. And
do you think they were trying to just copy what TNA were doing with the Final Deletion?
Stylistically, yes.
Stylistically, I think it was reaction. Yeah. But so I think maybe the storyline was in the works. Hey, we'll go down.
It's a great storyline.
Great storyline.
Well written, and I love the reveal at the end.
I totally agree with you.
We all love the reveal at the end.
I completely agree with you. For it to be cut down into a package like this, like, I mean, they went out there. They've all the cars, they've all the stunts, they've got the glass, they've got all those extras in masks. all the lights, a lot of work gone into that, and then to kind of shoot it all and then get into the edit and decide, okay, we're just going to jump cut the hell out of this, and then we're going to put a weird filter over it.
Yeah.
That's like something, you know, a teenager would put on, you know, or a student would put on their
It's
video when they forgot to do the... Yeah, but when you do
Tarantino.
your white balance wrong and you stick a filter over it to fix it. It kind of felt like that, and personally, like we all watched it here again before we started the podcast, and within 20 seconds my eyes hurt. You know, it's too much, and I think it's a pity because, as you guys say, great work by the lads. Braun Strowman jumping into windshields, you know what I mean? Everyone going for it.
It's kind of undercutting it because it's making it look... If it looks more like a film that's chopped up, it makes it look more like stunt work, less dangerous.
Yeah.
It takes all the work that they're actually doing, which is, you know, something they were obviously going for, you know, probably not doing numerous takes and this kind of stuff, and they're really putting their bodies in the line.
But you know, they announced on Snapchat last night that it's going to be the New Day against the Wyatts at Battleground. So what's the point in having this compound match? It makes no sense. Now they're just going to have a normal wrestling match. Go from attacking each other with chainsaws and going through windshields
it'll make
having a wrestling match.
In the video package before the match, we'll be able to see a clip of it, and it'll look kind of slightly epic in that.
That's not enough, though.
It should have been a 10-minute piece.
It should have been a 10-minute piece, shot live. You can have numerous cameras and be cutting from them, but like just make it feel like a live thing. Like, you know, every time Steve Austin did something backstage, it was always live, and that was the appeal. Was
you could actually be really clever and do it with one camera crew following the New Day going into the compound.
Absolutely, you could have a preamble before it. You know,
yes,
you guys are going to follow us in. Just something like that. Just
and like, I mean, if you want tension, the tension's there. Like, it's, you know, it's kind of Blair Witch. It's that.
Yeah, you can like, oh, the New Day have turned up with the WWE camera crew. We don't know what's going to happen.
It wouldn't be. It could have been so clever because, you know, the Wyatts are very reminiscent of like you know, True Detective, that kind of.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know, I remember the tension watching that last episode. Matthew McConaughey walking around, and he's like,
spoilers.
Well, he didn't know where the bad guy was.
I haven't seen it.
Well,
still haven't seen it.
There's a bad guy. Matthew McConaughey's trying to catch a bad guy.
Cool.
And he doesn't know where he is.
That's a major spoiler.
Yeah, it's like the final deletion. But I think what happened to the final deletion is they probably shot it and then were like, shit, we have to cut this back.
Yes.
rather than going in. I think
I
get
you're
the
absolutely
impression
right.
from the compound is like, we're going to shoot it in this choppy style. Because it feels like it's shot single camera and they're just moving camera position and doing different takes.
Yeah.
Whereas final deletion is like, yeah, we just ran 3 cameras and we got a lot of stuff. And
you were absolutely. I think you were absolutely spot
and the
on.
sun was coming up at the end, so we probably shot for 8 hours. You know, and that poor camera crew, how they kept up with them. And fair play to the lads. So, okay, Richie, we'll go back to yourself. What are your thoughts on the final deletion?
I loved it.
Director's cut or the original?
The director's cut. Has to be the director's cut. It's funny actually what you said about the with sunrise. Actually, when the match starts, the sun is setting and then it ends at sunrise, but the whole thing is 10 minutes, which is absolutely hilarious. But I thought it was brilliant. Everything from the crazy drones at the start to
the hologram.
The hologram's the best part.
Oh my God, the hologram.
Brother Nero, I see you've met my fleet of aerial assault robots. You are now speaking to Vanguard 1.
For me, it's that type of thing. It's like, it could go viral and it gets people at least for 10 minutes maybe.
Well, Richie, you have that. Were their ratings up?
So let's start with the middle of June. So June 14th we have 210,000 viewers for TNA Impact, and then the 21st of June you have 304,000.
Big jump.
Big jump, yeah. Then on June 28th, 322. Now, if we're looking back over the year, they usually bat around 320 on a really good week.
Okay.
Final deletion, 410,000 viewers.
There you go.
So it works, and it has everyone talking about it. We're talking about it right now.
Yeah.
I never imagine, as bad as it sounds, a wrestling podcast, I never imagine we'd be talking about TNA on the show. Because TNA over the past few years has been terrible. And it probably is terrible. I don't know, I've only seen the final deletion, I'll admit it right now. But it's made me want to watch TNA. I'm going to watch TNA this week to see what Marty has to say after.
You have people in WWE actually acknowledging them on Twitter. I know the Wyatts are calling them out as well. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Robbie Sky tweeting.
Yeah, and I've seen
Chris Jericho gave
Sasha and Bailey referring to each other as a Sister Nero and all
really?
this kind of thing. Yeah.
This fight is 3 rounds in the UFC heavyweight division.
So the other big news piece this week was obviously UFC 200. There's a wrestling link with Brock Lesnar. As we're Irish, previously Conor McGregor was going to be fighting, but now he's on UFC 202. 202, which he's calling the real 200. Fair play. Good man. No, good man for promoting. Fair play. Keep it going. But back to Brock. Brock had a match. He'd been out of the game for 5 years. Interesting deal. He's still under contract to WWE. He goes in there, it's a dangerous match. He could get a concussion. He could get anything. SummerSlam's at risk. 2 days beforehand, they announced he's fighting Randy Orton. So a lot of stuff in motion here and a lot of stuff in jeopardy. So, I mean, Dave, what are your thoughts on Lesnar going back to UFC and how that could affect WWE's plans?
Well, the result has been that everybody wins because he won the match. So he looks like $1 million and...
$2.5 million he looks like.
Exactly. But it's great for both brands, really. He had probably wrestling fans that, turned their nose up at a UFC. I'm sure they were interested in it. Likewise, people who'll be watching very closely now what he's going to be doing at SummerSlam. He did only come back to WWE because he knew it'd be a safer environment to earn money in, and that's.
He got himself a great deal.
That's
he
why
likes
he
the
came
schedule
back.
as well, though. He
likes the schedule.
He's a home bird. He's publicly said he doesn't like people.
I really don't like people. That's why I live out in the middle of nowhere. That's why I got a 8-foot fence around my property. That's why I shut the gate when I come and go. That's just who I am.
So he just wants to sit on his farm for most of the months, turn up and do Raw 4 times a year, do the odd pay-per-view. That suits him. UFC, there's a lot of work goes into preparing for a fight.
Can I ask you a question? When he first went to the UFC, would he have been on as much money as he was in WWE?
I think probably more at the start because he headlined UFC 100 and he was the man and they knew what they had, and it was kind of, it has a negative impact on their ranking system really, because he lost his first match against Frank Mir, then won his second match, and then his third match he gets a title fight against Randy Couture. Makes no sense really. There's no one else apart from Brock Lesnar would get that title fight, because Dana White and the UFC know how marketable, how big he is because of the name he has in WWE.
Position Conor McGregor worked himself into it as well.
Exactly, but they had no one like that at the time and they wanted to have that big star. They wanted to put Brock Lesnar on a poster, on a DVD with the UFC title.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it wasn't a fake match. He beat Randy Couture, he destroyed him, and it's but
at the time though, he looked like there was nobody on the planet that could stop this man.
And then he got diverticulitis and nearly ended his life. Never mind his career.
But it did feel like that when you saw how quick he moved and how big he was. That there's nobody.
But that's
like
the amateur wrestling background. Though. He has that, and I think he's proven this in this match against Mark Hunt that he can take a punch.
Well,
that was the big worry.
That's what we were worried about.
Punch,
and to be fair, Mark Hunt's top 10 heavyweight.
Top 10, and he's patented that walk-away knockout.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Knockout, walk-away, don't even look at him. That's a falling.
And Lesnar, I know it's a stupid thing saying he's fighting at the UFC, but he doesn't like getting punched in the face. He hates it. He really does. He hates getting punched in the face, but he bossed that fight. He really, really did. The power of him to just the hook both legs and just bam, on the ground, to Mark Hunt, to someone that's a top 10 UFC fighter. It made him look like a child. It really, really was. I was so impressed with Lesnar and everything he did in that fight.
The other thing about that is he threw him around a bit, but it was Mark Hunt had to drop weight.
Yeah.
To get into that fight. At the press conference, he was wearing a sweatsuit. And he talked about having to still drop a couple of kg a week out. And I was like, Lesnar was that. You put those two guys together, you would think Lesnar is heavier.
Yeah.
He's not.
So do you think that they can coexist, WWE and UFC, for Brock Lesnar?
It was interesting because right before Lesnar's fight, they ran an ad for WWE 2K17.
Well, that's the deal.
Yeah. And
but how long will this union last?
Well, I think WWE want Ronda Rousey or Conor McGregor on a future show. They want a WrestleMania match with either Ronda or Conor.
Yeah.
Conor has publicly said he's a WWE fan and he can't fight in the UFC forever.
No chance in hell.
Yeah, he mimics the walk.
He walked the Vince McMahon. He has the Vinnie Mac walk down.
Yeah.
Which is quite endearing,
I think there's no reason why they can't have a partnership. They're in the same market, but it's quite different as well. And there is UFC fans that don't watch wrestling. There's wrestling fans that don't watch UFC. There's no reason why you can't have a crossover by having Brock Lesnar on your show.
And WWE is moving away from kayfabe quite a bit. UFC actually blur the lines better in their promotion. They actually play kayfabe better than WWE do at the moment.
At the moment they do, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting. UFC is becoming a little bit more like wrestling.
It is.
Storylines.
Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz.
Yeah. But
Again, I'm sure they get on pretty well in real life.
Oh, yeah.
They seem
possibly, yeah.
quite similar. They have a lot of respect for each other, and they can, trash talk.
Like if you imagine like Brock Lesnar, what they've built him up as. Like he defeated Undertaker's streak at WrestleMania, and since then he's been unstoppable. He hasn't lost a match in 3 years. He lost obviously the heavyweight title when Rollins cashed in. He pinned Roman Reigns. That protected him. Since then he has destroyed everyone.
But do you get to a point though, like, is that creating a problem? Because if you have Lesnar, okay, and we make him the next Undertaker, and he never loses, kind of, there's no jeopardy in the matches
he will
anymore.
lose. I think he was supposed to lose at WrestleMania to Roman Reigns the first time.
But here's the problem. So if he's in UFC and he's in WWE, right, if you send him in there and he loses to an RKO, right, UFC don't want that. Lesnar doesn't want that. So now, because you have it on two promotions, it's a, what happens in one affects the other.
I think Brock Lesnar will leave WWE when his contract expires, because you can see even in his press conference after, he barely mentioned WWE. It was only when he was forced to say, well, what are you doing next? And he's like, well, I have a match in a month at SummerSlam against Randy Orton. I think he has a taste for it now. He's won a match. He's got the payoff. He knows.
But he only went back to WWE because his health was at risk in the UFC, and that's it. Like, so that was just it was a paycheck for him to go back. Like,
I assume he's signing year contracts to go from March to March to WrestleMania. So after next year's WrestleMania, they could potentially have him lose to whoever their top babyface is, whoever they want to push. His contract will expire, and I think he'll go to the UFC.
So we're coming out of UFC 200. He's into SummerSlam, as we say, and he's going to fight Orton. Orton only coming back from injury. Always has the old shoulder, bit of neck problems. Is he going to take 10, belly to back suplexes, Germans?
Well, see, Orton's been gone for a while, which is good because they can bring him back. He's going to be hot. He's going to be over. So what you need to do now is you need to establish Randy Orton in the next 6-7 weeks, whatever they have. He's going to be on the highlight reel with Chris Jericho at Battleground. He needs to come out. He needs to look strong. He needs to beat up Jericho. He needs to beat up Heyman. He needs to look like the old Randy Orton, the legend killer, someone that can actually defeat Brock Lesnar. You don't want to go into that match thinking that Lesnar's just going to destroy, because what's the point? What's the point of bringing Orton back just to lose to Lesnar? They can't do that. So Orton has to, it's really, really difficult to book Orton over the next 6 weeks to actually get him to that point where we will believe he's going to be the unstoppable man.
Do you think that's possible though? This is the thing. After UFC 200, do you think?
I think the draw is kind of aimed at slightly people just outside of the wrestling world. It's kind of a draw for them. You have two names that are probably the most recognisable within the company. You don't have to be. That's the draw to this. That's the reason for the match. Brock Lesnar's not fighting someone lesser known.
Yeah, they can't announce at UFC 200 that Brock Lesnar's fighting Sami Zayn or Kevin Owens.
Exactly.
That's someone that's a household name.
Yeah.
But is Orton?
There's nobody else in the card. He's fought Taker too many times.
Cena,
he destroyed him at SummerSlam a few years ago, and he's already in a feud with AJ.
Yeah. And again, you can also, for the actual wrestling fans, you can work in the whole the legend killer or whatever.
Yeah, I think that if he comes back as the legend killer, maybe punt Paul Heyman, as I said, beat up some establishments, beat up the Big Show, beat up Kane, just get him over, try and build it up. We know Lesnar's going to win, but still make it interesting.
In storyline, can anyone remember how Orton left in storyline? I can't. I remember injury, but did they ride him out?
I think they just wrote him out.
Was it anything big though? Was there a swerve?
I don't think it was a swerve. I think he just done his shoulder.
I think they just announced it on social media or something
because it would just be nice if he had left with a grudge, and they could work that in.
Yeah, when you get really injured though, you can't really leave with a grudge. That's the
Well, if you can keep walking, do a few mic, bits. But those two were in OVW together. I think they've had one match on a SmackDown years ago.
They've never had a pay-per-view match.
It's a fresh match.
Okay, so it could be.
It's marketable. That's all I say. There's not much else there for Brock Lesnar.
I'll be honest. I'm not interested in the slightest, because I'm actually worried.
Well, it feels like two part-timers.
But I'm worried for Orton's shoulder, legit for the guy, because he's a strong guy. He's amazing. His match with Rollins at Mania was amazing. I think the guy is great, but just from a health and safety point of view, it's I wouldn't want to see Angle fight Lesnar, because I don't see Angle take German suplexes.
They wouldn't. I don't think that it's a problem at all. Like, I mean, we were worried about Rollins as well and how he was going to hold up. They won't do the moves if they're. I mean, the doctors are, I think, probably.
Well, that's all Brock Lesnar does is the suplex.
But look at Sting.
They're overly cautious. They're overly cautious. I really don't think that you'd get in the ring if it was going to be a problem.
Can I fantasy book here for a second?
Go on.
Lesnar wins a SummerSlam. He's not going to fight again. Maybe the Rumble, maybe one other live appearance to promote something. But his next big match is WrestleMania. After the summer, I have the opponent for WrestleMania.
Go on.
Nakamura.
Oh yeah.
You book Nakamura right. You finish his run in NXT, which we're going to get onto in a second. You bring him up. You let him get over like he has naturally in NXT, and then you could have that big marquee match.
Make a star.
Nakamura and Lesnar. Even if Lesnar beats him, it doesn't matter. That's a match I want to see. Yeah. They fought before in New Japan, which they obviously won't reference, but Nakamura is big enough to go up against Lesnar. And I think that if we're talking about
Nakamura feels right now like he's big enough to go against anybody.
He is. And you say that you have no interest in Orton and Lesnar. If it was Lesnar and Nakamura.
You would pay anything to see that.
Exactly.
You'd absolutely you'd be so invested in that match.
It'd be amazing.
You'd be so invested. Because you'd be so fearful that Nakamura's is going to get destroyed.
Or you'd be like, but he'll go strong, so he'll kick him in the head, exactly. And it's just like,
and it's believable because the problem is now the way they've booked Lesnar is when someone beats him up, you don't believe it.
Yeah,
like Lesnar starts selling, and you're like, oh, like
really?
Yeah, like he doesn't sell very often, but when he does, you're like, oh god, like
But at least he tries. Like, I mean, he does like bleed the hard way, he bangs his head off a pole, or
gas,
I mean, fair play to him. But like that to me shows like as well that Lesnar, he's there for a paycheck, but he does respect the business. Because he'll go out there and he'll bleed, and he will do what he needs to do to make someone look strong. Even though his whole gimmick is he's strong, he did manage to put over, say, Reigns at Mania that time. And he was stumbling around the ring, and it was like moves out of desperation or whatever, but he did a good job of that. Yeah. So, absolutely. But look, Nakamura, obviously we have to talk about Nakamura Balor.
It felt like a nice passing of the torch, the perfect kind of passing of the torch, and it was two baby faces, but the two of them did a great job because Finn let the new baby face have his pop, and he played the kind of heelish characteristics in this match, which I thought was absolutely fantastic.
Unbelievable. When you talk about pops, like it's
it
just hearing that reaction to both of them, and they get in the ring, and this is awesome. Let's go Balor and Nakamura, and you just feel that heat. It feels like a special match. It felt like a takeover match, and you're right about the heel thing because I think Balor knew straight away I have to wrestle like a heel, so he started going slow.
It's a passing of the torch. It was kind of like he's had those moments himself.
Yes.
So he's going on to bigger and better things now, hopefully, and he's going to be just as big a star on the main roster.
Only issue I have before we get into the great things about it, there was a lot of ads during this match.
That's my only negative.
We're watching the network, we're already watching the product.
We're paying to watch the product.
Yeah, we're paying to watch the product.
I just
advertise to.
I have no problem with ads.
You're hoping somebody's going to walk in my room that doesn't watch it.
I'm paying to watch the network. I'm watching the network, and you're advertising the network.
Maybe they just people like me that watch it at work. They think that people.
But like very very.
We're already there. You don't need to break up this match.
Have your ads, but just don't interrupt the match.
But I don't mind an ad. I think there was 2 or 3 ads in this, and they showed the great ad where they showed the upcoming shows, so like Holy Foley and Cruiserweight Classic and all that kind of stuff. But then they show an ad later on in the same match for the Cruiserweight Classic. It just ruined the flow of the match.
Absolutely,
every single time.
It stopped it from being. For me, and it stopped it from being a classic, and the only reason is because as soon as that happened, you're pulled out of the beat, you're pulled out of the pace, you're pulled out of the emotion of the
It's
scene.
obviously been happening every week I've been watching the show, and it was really jarring for this match. Like, more than any other. I was like, I'm only really noticing it now, and it was so jarring.
That's probably because you were so invested in it.
Of course, yeah.
You nearly resent them from taking
it felt like
away
a takeover. They had a great video package before the match, so I had that kind of takeover feel. Now, all the stuff before the video package was completely unnecessary, but they were just padding out the hour.
Yeah.
Because, it was kind of overkill, which I think is really, really unfair because they're bringing the story in the ring.
And it was a great match.
Yeah, so
like
don't
if
overdo
you take away the
it,
ads, which is only really a minor blemish in what was probably one of the best regular NXT matches I've ever seen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I really, really like the way they worked the knee injury angle, And Nakamura, I've never seen Nakamura sell like this in NXT. The screams of agony and emotion, you could tell he just raised it up another level. It didn't feel like a standard Nakamura match. And that was the problem I was having it with Nakamura, because every single match he was having every week was a Nakamura squash. He would do the same moveset, win the same way, and as much as I loved it, felt like it was going to start getting stale. But to see him go up against a worthy opponent that injured him and that tested him, it told a great story.
But they could they could do that because they've wrestled before in Japan, and they, in fairness, they told everyone about that they were best of friends in Japan, all that kind of stuff, because they know each other so inside out. I'm seeing moves from Finn Balor I haven't seen.
Yeah.
You know,
he did a reverse 1916, which was unbelievable.
It's great, and he's doing these great, wrapping Nakamura's legs up, and it's like doing great stuff we haven't seen. These guys bring the best out of each other, and now I'm like sad that we're not going to get like a best of series with them.
Yeah.
You know, we're not going to get a few months of this.
But I very much feel it was like, I'll see you in a bit. Like, Nakamura's not going to be down there for years and years. Like, it's not going to.
So it's the assumption now that Balor's coming up in the draft.
But we never thought Balor would be there for a year.
That's true.
You know,
that's true.
You need a
face for that company.
You need a face for that company.
Yeah.
Is it going to be Joe? Joe's been there longer than Nakamura. He'd be getting etchy to come up to the main roster.
There's rumours they've booked Joe versus Nakamura at TakeOver in August, TakeOver Brooklyn. So
you have to, because that's a 14,000, 16,000. You have to sell
absolutely.
That out.
So that could be the passing of the torch for Nakamura, and then Joe then possibly gets his move up then. But I just like the fact that you got to see the layers of Nakamura we haven't seen before.
A couple of highlights for me: Balor's entrance went on for ages. Brilliant though, because it felt like a kind of might be the last time I get to do this in this arena.
It took a couple of extra
in the middle of the ring, and fair play, and they gave him that time, and he looked emotional, and then when Nakamura came out, massive pop.
They should have started chanting "See you Monday."
Balor's trying to be serious. He smirks a bit, because he knows
the same kind of way Sami Zayn did in the TakeOver match, because you can't not smile at Nakamura.
Exactly.
That's true. It's
I feel something special when I see Shinsuke Nakamura. There's an energy when he comes out. There's something different. Like, WWE just need to realise that when they hear the NXT crowd, he's in the ring with the hottest wrestler in NXT, and probably one of the hottest. Like, Finn Balor is gonna be a star. Finn Balor's gonna be heavyweight champion one day, and he was outshunned by Nakamura because Nakamura is so hot.
Part of that is because Nakamura is new, though.
That is true.
And one thing we talked about last week, with Balor was we were kind of saying Balor's getting a little bit repetitive, but Balor did one thing in this match, and it got a huge pop. He did the too sweet on Nakamura's forehead, and the crowd turned straight away, and they were back on Balor's side, because that's what they want to see from Balor. Bit of attitude, a little bit of heel antics, like you're saying. And it really just brought his character to life.
You can see he'd be a great heel.
One of the reasons why the Attitude Era happened was because they'd copped on that people were getting sick of that. So they started cheering the heels, started cheering the Austin.
So we wanted to see more of that from Balor. It was great.
From Balor,
just
absolutely.
in terms of hard-hitting moves, I mean,
just
some
personality.
great stuff. Balor bursting out of the corner turnbuckle. A running low drop kick into Nakamura's knee. He does a flip back. As you're saying, into working the knee,
false finishes as well. All work fantastic.
Nakamura has the kick out at like 2 and 3/3, because for a second you're like, he's not going to kick out, and he kicks out. He's got that nailed. You need to save that for the big matches, and I think he did that perfectly.
I know they got it great, and I mean Balor, he kicked out of one Kinshasa, to the back of the head. Fair enough. The only guys kicked out so far. I suppose that was Nakamura. A bit of respect to Balor. Like, you're the toughest dog in the yard here. You can kick out, and then I'll get you later on.
I think that Nakamura showed a perfect way to sell an injury as well. Now I know he came back at the end, and that happens in wrestling, but even little things like he went for a knee in the corner, he knees the turnbuckle and then sells the knee deliberately. If he was missing that in any other match, he would have just missed it with his whole body, but he made sure to miss it with the knee, and that's what this match had that little bit of attention to detail with that injury that made you believe in the whole match.
I would have just given him maybe 10% more on that. Like, he goes for his finish, but he can't. Like he just once or twice maybe we think that's the moment, and he runs and his knee collapses. Just give us that.
That would have been nice.
Tiny bit of extra. That's all. But again, classic match already. Everyone's raving about it. Lovely. They bow to each other at the end.
That was brilliant.
Brilliant. And so look, I think we're all in agreement. Balor is leaving NXT.
We don't know for sure. We don't know for sure. Shane McMahon, please pick him in the draft.
See you guys Monday. Well, look, the draft, perfect segue, right? I've asked you to both to pick your top 6 guys.
Okay.
And by guys I mean men and women, who you think you could build a brand around. And I don't care if it's Raw, SmackDown, whatever, but give me your top 6 guys. Okay, Richie, do you want to go first?
I will. So my top 6 guys, it's really straightforward, really simple. So we've got Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar, because from a booking point of view, I want to see heel Brock against a babyface Seth, because we saw it briefly before. They had one match last year and it was amazing, and I just think it could work, because you could have Seth, even you could work it as a Seth as a heel, it doesn't matter. I just want to see those 2 guys in their program. So they're my first 2 guys. Third is Kevin Owens, because we spoke about it in last week's show. Kevin Owens can work with anyone. Put him in any feud, he can build someone up, he can build himself up, he can fight for the world title, he can do anything. Brock's not going to be around every week on my show, so I need Kevin Owens there to have a lot of main events every single week and tag matches and so on. The next one is Roman Reigns. Now, I know this is controversial, but I want to work with Roman Reigns. He is he's probably the most polarizing guy in wrestling. With Reigns as a face, as a heel, it doesn't matter, because he draws, people talk about him. I want people talking about my show and talking about Roman Reigns. I'm not going to book him the way that WWE have been booking. I'm not going to get into fancy booking, but I just think have Roman there, because no matter what anyone thinks about Roman, he's money. And you can book him in.
That's your top 4, yeah?
That's my top 4. And then my last 2, AJ Styles, because he's AJ Styles.
Yeah.
And the last one then with AJ is Finn Balor, because I referenced it on the last show as well, but I want to see a whole club angle where Finn Balor comes back in and he wants to reclaim the club from AJ Styles, because the night that AJ left or joined New Japan, Finn left on the same night, he took over the Bullet Club. You could have Finn come in and be like, well, listen, I'm taking back my club. And you could have an angle there where with Gallows and Anderson go with either AJ or Finn. It makes no difference. Whichever they go with will be the heel, the other becomes the face, and then you have an angle for weeks.
It's like I have that from my SmackDown story. That's exactly what I'd like to see happen.
Did I steal your idea?
Absolutely. If Balor comes up, there has to be. I think it'd be actually great for him to.
So he's in your top 6 though?
He's in my SmackDown. Yeah.
Your SmackDown. So who are your top 6?
Well, I actually have a Raw and a SmackDown. Sorry.
Oh, you have 2 sets of 6. Okay.
Well, the reason being that I would want to keep Raw the kind of the show with the drama, the talking, the long segments and stuff. Yeah. So my natural picks for those would be Seth, headline Raw. I think he should be the face of the company, absolutely. And I'd love to see him getting a program with Kevin Owens as the heel, and Seth as the face of the company.
Cool.
Kevin Owens should be the top heel in the company. Put him with Seth.
Brilliant, yeah.
The 2 of them can talk. 2 of them are brilliant. And then I'd love, I'd love to see Cesaro be up there, the other babyface in the mix for that. The New Day, I like what they're doing with them currently, trying something different. So I'd like to see them continue that with the Wyatts on that show. Because again, great mic skills. Bray Wyatt as well, great mic skills. So keep those stories going on the Raw brand. SmackDown, I think it's important to kind of be the wrestling show. Women's division, Sasha Banks, Charlotte, all the women wrestlers coming through, put them on SmackDown. I think at some stage I'd even look at women's tag team division. I would love to see Finn debut with AJ and the club, and then to have a turn
on
Finn, and one of them gets screwed.
Yeah, it has to be Finn, because AJ is such a great
absolutely.
heel.
Yeah, I think if he came out and maybe assisted AJ in getting I know they're probably going to bring in another world heavyweight belt. I would actually prefer them to make the IC belt like Ultimate Warrior esque in its relevance, and to be just up there right next to the. So whatever belt it is, I would like to see Finn come in, help AJ win that belt with the club, and then get screwed over at some stage.
Yeah, because everyone knows since AJ and Gallows and Anderson got signed, there was talk about the club, they're reforming, and Finn Balor's going to come up. So give us that, but then take it away. Yeah, straight away.
And my next pick for this SmackDown I think Dean Ambrose would mix quite well with all of them. And then other tag teams, Breezango, Enzo and Cass.
So I knew you were going to get Breezango in there somewhere. You sly dog.
In there.
No, but I like what you're splitting it up there. You're going, look, here's our main storyline stuff, and here's our wrestling show.
Here's a wrestling show. Yeah.
So it caters for two different tastes.
Yeah, but you still have such a strong, caliber of wrestling in the Raw. But what you have is the great mic skills on top of that.
Go along with that.
You know, people that can absolutely turn not the best material and work it really, really well.
Okay.
You know, I mean, everything. Rollins makes average material. He elevates it.
Yeah.
Kevin Owens, I think, is allowed to do what he likes at this stage. Yeah. As are the New Day.
He elevates eating a bag of crisps.
Yeah. You know? Absolutely. Or
he puts the crisps over. You know what I mean? Do anything like that.
Where's Roman Reigns?
Roman Reigns. Probably keep him Raw. Probably keep him Raw.
I think that's what's so good about the upcoming draft, because you will never get sick
as a heel
of the well, not even that, even if he's a face, because you're watching a terrible main event Roman Reigns match or a Roman Reigns promo where they're putting him over, and you don't mind, because I know that tomorrow night on SmackDown I'm going to tune in and see AJ Styles or see Kevin Owens, see whoever it is,
different flavor,
because you know your guys are going to get their time, because now instead of squeezing it all into one 3-hour show, you have a 5-hour show to spread it with 2 different brands. So I know I'm not going to see Roman Reigns tomorrow, and I think it will make Roman Reigns haters resent him a bit more, even if he still gets pushed the way he is now.
So it's now time for a new segment called The Mystery Opponent.
We are watching the mystery opponent come in.
Richie's the host of this segment, so we're handing it over to Richie right now.
Okay, so the basic idea, it's a quiz show where I'm going to list random facts about a wrestler, and whoever guesses first wins. Are we ready?
Sounds good.
Okay, I was born December 16th, 1960. I'm from Arkansas, USA. During my career, I wrestled for WCW, ECW, and WWE. I was in a tag team called the Skyscrapers. I'm a two-time WWE champion and 2-time WCW champion. I have main evented WrestleMania twice and Starrcade once.
Earthquake?
No. Before one of my WrestleMania matches, I failed a drug test but was still allowed to compete.
Ooh.
I am not a WWE Hall of Famer. I have had 7 different ring names, including a Mad Max-inspired Lord Humongous.
What the fuck?
I am known for my terrible mic skills and have made several live interview botches. On January 14th, 2001, I had a near career-ending leg fracture. This is known as the most gruesome...
Oh, Psycho Sid.
Fuck. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
I think Paul got there first.
I don't know. I think it was a draw.
No, he said "ah," but we two of us said "Psycho Sid" at the same time. Just 'cause he said "ah."
The odds have it.
I'll list out the last 3. I made my last WWE appearance in 2012 in the build-up to the Raw 1000th anniversary, where I feuded with Heatside. My finisher move is the Powerbomb. My real name is Sidney Raymond Uddy, and my name is Psycho Sid.
That's should have started with the last one.
My name is Psycho Sid. I actually have a fact on the injury, actually.
Okay, go on.
Members of WWE management allegedly felt that Psycho Sid needed to broaden his arsenal of wrestling moves. They suggested he try an aerial maneuver. Despite his unwillingness, he felt it was necessary for the wrestler of his size, not too high spots, and wasn't comfortable doing it. They made him do it anyway. During the match, Sid suffered a leg fracture following his leap from the second turnbuckle in an attempted big boot on Scott Steiner, another botcho. This had him awkwardly landing on one foot while kicking with the other. Severely fractured his leg when he landed. Sid broke his left leg in half, snapping both the tibia and the fibula, with at least one of his bones breaking through the skin. The fracture was actually too graphic for most TV stations.
It's too graphic for me right now to listen to.
You know, Nitro still showed it the next week.
Oh, over and over and over again, yeah.
Now, Sid Vicious up on top.
Oh, that is so difficult.
Look at the left foot.
That is so difficult to watch. We've seen it already. Oh,
another angle.
Already so many times, and it's still just so...
Once again isolated. The foot. Obviously, the compound fracture of the tibia and the fibula last night. This morning he underwent 2 hours of surgery, had a 43-centimeter steel rod inserted into the bone.
Yeah.
He is still in Methodist Hospital in Indianapolis. He'll be out a good part of a year.
A long time.
We'll put it up on the Facebook page. It is the worst injury I've ever seen in wrestling.
Yeah, it's amazing, yeah. It was the first real botch I saw, I think.
It's so memorable.
Why would you want to put that on the page? Nobody wants to see that.
I'm going to put that up on the page.
Oh. It is gruesome. It is gruesome. I don't recommend anybody watch it.
Okay, so the last bit of news this week is that 2K17 have released the details on a special edition version of next year's game, and it's an NXT special. So you get an 8-inch Finn Balor demon statue. You get
for all you ladies.
For you and Richie. You get you get a painting of Shinsuke Nakamura, and you get 3 extra playable characters, which we Nakamura, Nia Jax, and for some reason Apollo Crews, even though he's on the main roster. But there you go. It's going to retail for $99, which here will probably be €99, even though the exchange rate doesn't make sense like that. Will you guys be buying it? I know, Richie, you're an avid gamer.
Well, I haven't actually been purchasing the WWE 2K series over the last few years because they've dipped in quality. As far as production and storylines and entrances, and it looks, the graphics are unbelievable. The gameplay is terrible. This has kind of changed my perspective on it because they're focusing on NXT, and I think it's really clever because the type of gamers that buy special editions are the type of wrestling fans that watch NXT. Absolutely. And I think they're going for that market, and they know that like people like go to Full Sail every week and watch it are gonna buy this special edition, and I'm gonna probably buy it now because it has NXT all over it. And Nakamura, like that's gonna, even if I don't like the game, I'm probably gonna still buy this special edition. So I think it's really, really clever, and I might like the game as well because I've given up on the franchise.
And I'll buy for the statue. I never played those games as WWF characters. I only ever played as my own creator wrestler.
Oh really?
Yeah, never played as another as a real life wrestler.
Why is that?
Just, I didn't see the point. Because like to me, the whole thing is like they put in this. Like I mean, the creator wrestler thing in all those games is amazing.
You never created you.
What does it mean? He only played as.
I only played as creator wrestler. I never used like The Rock or Stone Cold. Never played any of those characters. Oh, just had no interest. Like,
but like,
because I spent hours creating my wrestler. Like, and I'd have every finishing move I wanted, and every reversal I wanted, and my intro the way I wanted, and all that stuff.
What's
and then rank them up.
Wrestler's name?
Oh Jesus!
I don't remember.
I know I do. One was Quintine. I don't know why.
Quintine.
I don't know why. He was generally the more the bigger, stronger guy.
Yeah. I hope somebody out there steals this gimmick.
Yeah. And then
and it becomes reality.
I had another guy. I began with a K or something, but he was more the high flyer. Usually, kind of a Jeff Hardy ripoff with some power moves. But yeah, never played with any other character because it was limited. It was like, you know, their movesets were smaller than you could do in Creator Wrestler.
I didn't actually like the Creator Wrestler. I like creating the wrestlers that weren't on the roster, or if a new guy came up.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So recently, I am a big retro gamer, so we recently got out the old WrestleMania 2000 on N64, and it was around 2001, 2002, all the WCW guys came in, and I actually had created wrestlers for like Booker T and Buff Bagwell and DDP and all these guys. They look terrible, but I like the idea of trying to recreate these guys because they had challenge. They had such a large move set, and they had like weird clothes and stuff. And you're trying to make like the Dudley Boys and stuff like that because that's what I was interested in. But
I was trying to make Batman or something. Or
yeah, people used to do that as well. Actually,
I made a lot of siblings for The Undertaker and Kane.
Oh, did you
put a mask? So I think I was one of the siblings myself. Like,
I also like. I get what you're saying about the creator wrestler thing, but I actually like the idea of like, if I get this game, which I probably will now because the NXT edition, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it on, I'm going to load up my dream Nakamura against Brock Lesnar, and I'm going to play as Nakamura. Yeah. And that's what I like, because I want to be that guy. I want to play as Shinsuke Nakamura. I want to do his moves. And then the next time I load on, I'll pick AJ Styles. And I'm playing as AJ Styles.
Okay, we're going to have to have a tournament. It'll be me as Quintine.
Oh.
Or whatever the fuck the other guy's name was. I'll find my old 8 megabyte PlayStation memory card.
It's probably
somewhere in my house still. I think I had a gold one, and it's probably on that somewhere. And I'll dig it out. And I'll find out that guy's name, and we'll rock against each other.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay, so that brings the show to an end. Thanks very much for listening to our second podcast. I'm Paul Bush.
I'm Richie. If you've lasted this long, fair play to you. You must really like us.
This is David O'Neill.
There you go. Listen, thanks again. Please like our Facebook page to follow us. We have a SoundCloud and we have a Podomatic, and we'll be out on iTunes soon. We have our YouTube up and running, but we need to start uploading to that as well. But we'll keep it all going on our Facebook till then. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
What if you were to join a certain club? You're going to join the Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club. Come on, it's not like you have to kiss some big old greasy, fat, hairy Oklahoma ass.
That would be yours, JR.
Come on, I've got a nice ass. He needs to kiss my ass. I gotta tell you, that's a mighty fine looking ass, isn't it? It can do tricks. Watch this.